Hey students, Tim here, and today we are doing lesson 4 in the home piano course, and today is all about scales and keys and what those two terms mean, and an introduction to keys with sharps in them and keys with flats in them. Now, what is a key anyway? Well, instead of looking through this page here, I'm going to explain it in my own words. A key tells you one thing, well, it tells you a few things. Tells you what notes you're going to be playing throughout a piece. So whether you're talking about the key of C, the key of D, the key of G, it's telling you, okay, in the key of G, there's a set of notes that you're going to be working with. Now, each key is different. Some keys have no sharps and no flats in them, like the key of C. So if you take the key of C and you put the notes in order starting from C, and you have all of the key notes right in a row, that defines the key of C, but when you put them all in a row, that is what we call the C major scale. So it's really easy to confuse key and scale. All a scale is when you put all the notes in a key in a row. Think about it that way. And a key tells you what notes you're going to be playing throughout a piece, or if you're writing a piece. This is probably one of the more useful things. I mean, everything's useful, but this is really what you need to do to write pieces in different keys. So just moving on, like the key of G, for example, by definition, has an F sharp in it instead of a regular F, and that's what defines the key of G major. Now, there's a set of major keys and a set of minor keys. Today, it's all about majors. Now, keys either have sharps, or they have flats, or they have nothing at all. They don't have sharps and flats. You're not going to see that. That's very important to mention. Now, later on, you may be saying, well, how am I going to remember that G has one sharp, D has two sharps? By playing pieces and by memorizing them. We're going to get more into that as we go along. But that's just the very basic definition of what a key and a scale is, which is really important in understanding what the C major scale is. Again, like I said, it's from one C up to the next C with all of basically the white keys in between. It consists of 8 notes, and what they're showing you here is if you play the first 4 notes of the scale, that's called a tetrachord. It's a chord with 4 notes, hence tetra. So like if you've ever played Tetris, you got to line up 4. Tetra. So there's a tetrachord, and then the second half of the scale, another tetrachord. That's all it's showing you here. Tetrachords, it's important to understand what they are, but it's not the most important thing we're going to be learning today. So down here, all they want you to do is write in the tetrachord. So you're writing just 4 notes in a row, 4 notes in a row, like that. And then you're going to be writing the C major scale. I guess you can copy up here. Now, you may have noticed that there's a bunch of W's and an H. What this means is this means whole step. I'll show you what that is on the piano. And this means half step. And they're showing you the difference. Like this is a whole step between C and D, whole step between D and E, half step between E and F, and then so forth. Whole, half. So let me show you on the piano exactly what they're talking about. So play C on the piano. A half step on the piano is really simple. It's literally the next note touching the note you just played. So that's a half step up, and a half step below C actually happens to be B because there's no black key right there. So up and half steps would look like this. We call this the chromatic scale. You'll be learning about that later. And then all a whole step is 2 half steps. You're just literally skipping over that half step. And then there's a half step there in the scale. So remember, whole, half is what we saw on the paper. So what I want to show you is that this formula, whole, half, whole, half, can help you play any major scale. This only works for major scales. Any major scale anywhere on the piano. And this is what the sheet was showing you. Like whole, half. I don't know why they wrote whole step in total there, but whole, half. So WWH, WWWH. Think about it that way. Now, let me show you how you apply this on the piano. So say we want to play the key of G. Now, you remember from a few minutes ago, I said that the key of G had one sharp, F sharp in it, and we're going to see why. So you play G. Now, you don't include the first note. You play the first note, and then you go whole step, half step, and that works perfect because there's not a black key there. And then we need 3 whole steps in a row. So whole step, and because this is a half step, the whole step needs to be there, and then half step to finish out the scale. So the way the pattern lines up, whole, half, whole, half, is one of the reasons we need that F sharp in there. Let's do the same thing on the key of D. So play D first, and then remember, go whole, and it's only a half step here, so whole would be here, half, whole, and we need another whole step, half step. So you can figure out any major key or scale that way, and we just by looking at what we played, the key of D has 2 sharps, as F sharp and it has C sharp. So that is the formula for the major scale. Down here it's just saying write whether a note is a whole step away or a half step. I'll let you figure that out based on what I explained to you. You know what? We're in good shape here because I basically explained all of this already. I explained what the key of G major was and what the key of D major was. So the only thing you got to know on this page, other than what I explained already, is that the first 4 notes form a tetrachord. The second 4 notes form a tetrachord. Again, tetrachord, 4 and 4, 8 in total. Now, let me see. Yeah, so write more tetrachords. This part's pretty easy, I feel like. Writing the G major scale, you can cheat, although it is written in bass clef this time. Or is it written in treble clef? So you have to do a little bit of thinking, but I'll give you a hint that the sharp is in the same spot, no matter whether it's in treble clef or bass clef, for the same key. If you're talking about different keys, you're talking about different sharps. All right, flat scale. So like I mentioned earlier in the lesson, there are keys and scales with sharps or keys and scales with flats, not both. So we got to talk about some flat scales now. So take a look here. We have our formula again, right? Whole, half, whole, half. So you can start on F. Let's take a look at this. Why is there a B flat is what we have to think. And it's the same reason we had before. Think about what that reason was. It had to do with the spacing of the whole steps and half steps. Let's just take a look together. We're starting on F. Now, for now, you can play your scales with one finger. It's totally fine. So we need a whole step, and then what's after that? A half step. And then a whole step, and lucky us, there's already a half step there, so we don't need any more sharps or flats. So now I want to build on that to a question. Why is it a flat instead of a sharp? And I'll tell you why. Let's take a look. So taking out the sharps and flats, playing from F, just like we would the C major scale, F up to the next F. And think about that 4th note of the scale, just with no flats involved. It's a B, right? That's the 4th note of the scale. Well, because we've taken the B to fit the formula and lowered it to that, to hit that half step in there, that's why it's a B flat and not a sharp, because the original note was B, and then we're going to B flat. Let's quickly switch gears to the key of G. Remember, the key of G had 1 sharp, and I'll tell you why it's sharp instead of a flat. You can probably guess why. Hopefully. So here's G. Just remember whole, half, whole, half. Now for a second, let's take out this F sharp here. Gone. It's playing from G up to the next G. So we have our notes G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Well, the next to last note before was F, and we made it an F sharp. So we were actually going up this time. So to figure out whether a key is in sharps or flats, or what notes are sharps or flats, you have to figure out what note did we start with that we had to alter a little bit to fit the formula. And it's something that will come along with time, and you will eventually get to memorizing these all these flats and sharp scales. In fact, I would start even one of the assignments I want you to do for next time. Memorize that the key of, first of all, memorize that the key of C has nothing, right? That was that one on that page. Memorize that the key of G has 1 sharp. Remember that it's F sharp. Key of D has 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. I want you to memorize this one. F major has 1 flat, B flat. And here's where we're getting weird. The key of B flat has 2 flats, B flat and E flat. And as you can surmise, now this time we're starting on a flat note, so we don't, well, let's do this real quick. It's the same kind of idea, actually. Because think about it. Take away the B flat and the E flat, and we're just going to play from B up to the next B. So we have B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Now, because it's called B flat, we don't have a choice. It's automatically starting on B flat and then ending on B flat. So that's why it looks like there's actually 3 sharps in this scale, but there's only 2. We're only counting the unique notes. We are not counting doubles. So if it's B flat and B flat, you only count 1. So there's technically only 2 flats in the scale. So here we go. So we're going to start on B flat this time. And you're going to go whole step, half step. And now why is it E flat instead of E? Well, normally if we took away all the flats, this note before was regular E, and we're flatting it. So that's why it's E flat. And then whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So again, whole, half, whole, half. And one thing I want you to do over the next week, and actually throughout time, start on a random note. Start on, I don't know, like, geez, F sharp or something crazy. Let's try that. So here's F sharp. We need a whole step. So that would be here. Whole step again. Only a half step here, so we can move here. And then whole step, careful of this one, whole step, half step. It'll take you a lot of time at first to count the whole steps and half steps. I can do it rather quickly, but this will get you better and better at that formula, which is important to know when playing your major scales. And more importantly, in the major scale of things, understanding the relationship between notes, which is a huge part of music theory. Again, writing tetrachords, you can handle it on that page. That's your assignment, is to fill in the blanks. Okay, you know what? We already talked about this, which is great. However, I just want to show you that now they're talking about key signatures, the sharp keys. Oh, the flat keys. Ooh, how are we going to figure this out? Well, we already know. But the cool thing, and the only thing you have to understand about this page really, is that in the beginning of the piece, you've probably seen it in pieces where they give you like a set of sharps or a set of flats in the beginning of the piece, and that tells you what notes are sharped throughout the entire piece. So again, you want to be reading these pages on your own to kind of to get a better understanding of everything I'm talking about. But it tells you that in this key, you can read this here, that if you had drew a note right where the sharp is, it would be F, right? This tells you that every F in the whole piece is going to be sharped no matter what. Now, I said earlier that a certain key had F sharp in it, right? Everywhere. We replaced F with F sharp. What key was that? That's the key of G. So this key signature, which just tells you basically what key you're in, what notes are sharped. Now, if you want the secret sauce on how to figure this out even quicker, find the note that's sharped. And there would be a note F there, right, like we talked about. Go to your piano and play F sharp, that note. All you got to do is go up 1 half step, and that gives you your answer. So the key of G has 1 sharp, F sharp. Now, what if there are 2 sharps, you're asking, Tim? Well, let's take a look. So you have 2 sharps now, F sharp and C sharp. What you do is you take the sharp all the way at the end, all the way to the right. You find it on the piano, so there's C sharp. And you go up a half step. So sure enough, the key of D has 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. And by the way, they're going to be written in the treble clef and the bass clef. It doesn't matter. You're only counting like the 2 notes. You know, you're not counting these as 4 sharps. After all, they'd be redundant, right? F, C, F, C. So you really just need to read one of the clefs. I mean, they apply to both clefs, but I think you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, let me know in the comments. So one thing you just want to get from this page is the key signature tells you what key you're in, but less specifically, usually it's more specifically, less specifically, it tells you just what sharps you're having. And then you have to do the extra legwork to figure out, all right, I'm in the key of G or what? Because unfortunately, guys, they will not tell you the key any longer. Well, I don't know if any longer, maybe a little bit further in this book, but you're going to have to memorize these. And that also helps when you memorize like the keys I was talking about earlier in the scales. So automatically, I said to memorize that the key of D had F sharp and C sharp in it. So when you look over here and you're like, oh, an F sharp and C sharp, boom, you already have the answer. Now it does get a little more complicated later on with flat scale or minor scales, but don't worry about that for right now. All right, do these exercises. You can figure it out, I think. The flat keys. You have 1 flat, B flat. We already said that that was the key of F. We already said that the one with 2 flats is B flat. Now the trick with the flat keys and figuring them out quickly is different than the sharp ones. So remember with the sharp ones, you went to the sharp all the way to the right here, and you just went up a half step, and that gave you your answer, C sharp, and then we got to D. This time, you're just going to have to memorize this first one, that 1 flat is F. Memorize it. That's the only thing I have to save you with. And then the second one here, see how there's 2 flats, B flat and E flat? Like if you drew a note there, B and E. Well, this time what you do is you go to the one all the way to the right, and you go to the one right next to it. 1 in from all the way to the right. And if we only have 2, it's this one. That would be B flat, right? Play B flat on your piano. Well, congratulations, you're already there. So with the flat ones, all it is it's the next to last flat in the key signature, and that's your answer. It does get, let me see if when they introduce the other scales and stuff. Yeah, not for a while. But one thing, like this example right here, this has 4 flats. We're going to figure out this key together right now, you guys. So we have 4 flats. I'm going to tell you what the flats they are, and you don't have to read and write them all. So B, E, A, and D. Now, what did I tell you? You go to the one all the way at the end, D flat. And then you go 1 in from all the way to the end. That's A flat. Well, congratulations. This is the key A flat. What about this one? The flats you have are B, E, and A. A flat's the last one. E flat's the next to last one. This is the key of E flat. There, I'm doing your homework all for you. Let's try this one. You have 3 sharps, F, C, and G. You go to that last sharp, G sharp. You go up a half step. Boom, and we just figured out the key of A. So remember those little tricks. Remember that they are different from sharps and flats. If you get that wrong, well, you will have a very tough time learning music theory, or you will be getting a lot of wrong answers. All right, it's on your own to do the ear training. They're probably just going to be playing some tetrachords for you, things like that. Again, CDs are in the back of the book, but work on that on your own. A lot of on your own type of stuff going on. So do the review also on page 49, and we're going to talk about this stuff next time, so don't worry about it. So obviously check out the next lesson somewhere. I'm not sure where I'm going to put it yet, just for you. And make sure you subscribe. You have all notifications turned on, because we have new lessons coming out all the time, and you don't want to miss a beat. I also have courses over on my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com. I have theory courses over there, which do cover some of this stuff. But it's a great review for learning your key signatures, learning the basics. But then I also branch out and cover some things I'm not going to cover up to in this particular course. So make sure to check that out, pianolessonsontheweb.com. It's your piano teacher, Tim, here. I'll see you next time. Have a great day.